Okay, time is now 3:30. I'd like to call to order the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations meeting. Please note that this meeting is being transmitted live via video stream. The public can find a link to this video stream by visiting Orange County website, orangecountygov.com, clicking on tab for the legislature and locating the meeting on the calendar. Please silence all your cell phones and tablets and other devices. And also be mindful that the microphones here in the statutory committee room are sensitive and robust. This time, I'd like everyone to rise for a moment of silence and the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, America. Okay, during grade roll call, please.
Emo. Kane.
Here.
Fagion.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Paduk.
Here.
Sierra. Segenga. Here. Liscetta.
Here.
6 present, 2 absent.
Okay, thank you. All right, first up, we have Catherine Benelli, Chairwoman, Orange County Legislature, and Betsy Abraham, Legislative Council. Resolution authorizing the Commissioner of General Services to issue a request for proposals for a legislative redistricting plan. Could I get a motion in a second?
I make that motion.
And okay, floor is yours.
Thank you very much and good afternoon, everybody. As you know, we discussed at budget time that this was something that we have appropriated money in our budget for. And we would like to move forward on creating the RFP through General Services and with assistance from the Planning Department. And you'll see that in the resolution to get this started. So we're not running at the last second, we have plenty of time. So did you want to add anything? Nothing, just one. So if you have any questions, I think you all understand what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, just in the last resolve, the makeup of the committee, who's going to be involved, do you have is it going to be a committee or are you going to appoint the committee? How's that going to work?
Well, we kind of left it a little bit open because that's something that when we get the RFP back, we need to put together a committee with vetting, but we did want to, for vetting the proposals and even working on the proposals. So right now, where I'm looking at leadership and then to expand it even further. And one of the thoughts after consulting, we definitely want to include General Service as well as the Planning Department, and then a handful of legislators when we ultimately get to the vetting process and actually the implementation of whoever the consultant is, so whoever the consultant is selected. So
Then when it's the selection is made, whatever the proposal is, it still comes back to the legislature for approval, right?
After you mean after the consultant does their work and provides maps?
Right.
Yes, correct.
oh, definitely.
And what happens if the legislature doesn't agree?
Well, I imagine that the RFP will provide for a number of options. It won't just be a return of one redistricting selection as far as maps go. So based on that, realistically, the consultant is bound by New York state law, which was just changed at the end of last year in the budget process. And so it requires that the districts are actually more confined than they have been. In previous years, it allowed for a 10% variance off of the most populous and the least populous district. This year, it can be no more than 5%. So it's going to be very limited, but I imagine that the consultant, who would be an expert in what they do, would provide various options. So.
Because I think I read in the paper that a nearby county did this and they stuck with the 10% instead of the 5%.
Yes.
What happened with that? They just went forward, didn't it?
They actually, well, in essence, those maps would be considered illegal because they're not in compliance with the New York state law. There is a lawsuit pending currently. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, so you said leadership possibly, so will leadership.
In the beginning when we start.
When you're interviewing the people who might be doing the.
Well,
after
first we have to put the specs together in the RFP, and Betsy has done some preliminary work with that. And in order to keep our hands off as much as possible, because we really should try to be as transparent as possible, General Services and Planning will be included with that, because a lot of the information, as you'll remember, came from planning as far as moving ahead with a lot of these things. So I think once we get this proposal, there'll be dialogue with this committee as well as with leadership and how we move forward. But it'll start with leadership and then expand.
And what's the
To,
timeframe that you're looking
Well, once we put the proposal together, then we'll review that. But we wanted to get started before the year end so that we kind of were into the meat and potatoes of it at the beginning of January. Or the beginning of 2023. And then we'll have discussions on how we vet the proposals that do come in. And I'm thinking of possibly ranking system, somewhat like what we did when we went out for the RFP for the auditors, and you were part of that as well. Because I thought that that was a pretty good, fair analysis of weighing the pros and cons for the different aspects.
at? So we don't even know if there'll be any negotiations after the proposals are back. I mean.
Well,
in terms of
you're
the
like
legislature.
20 steps ahead of me. I'm just
Okay.
trying to start here.
Okay, legislator Cheney?
As long as he's 20 steps ahead of you, maybe I'll go to 21.
Just don't go to 50.
What's our goal relative to having it completed and presented to the legislature?
As far as time frame,
Yeah,
I would like to see it completed through 23, at the end of
sometime in
23.
23. Yeah. Okay.
But here again, not knowing all the particulars and what we're going to be faced with and some of the challenges, I don't want to lock myself into.
No, and the consultant, that's
and-
part of the negotiation. we'll have with
Exactly.
the consultant.
And the reason being too is that, and that's why we wanted to get it started now, that if there are issues that start to arise, we'll have plenty of time to address it.
I was just thinking of, as somebody mentioned earlier, the possibility of there being lawsuits and things like that, so.
And that's why we want
if
to,
we get
because
it
if
done
you
in
reflect,
23, we've got about a year.
yeah, so if you reflect, well, and you were, as you said, you remember that happening. And actually, our time frame for circulating petitions from that election year was cut in half because we really didn't have where we were running at that point in time. It was unclear. So we want to avoid that. And that's why we're starting now.
Okay.
So we have more questions at this point than we do answers, but we will be working towards that.
Okay, other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, next up, setting the date, January 5th for the organization meeting. It'll be January 5th, 2023, 3:30 PM. Snow date, January 6th at 3:30 PM. Okay, motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Jim and Mike. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Justice clear. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. We're all in favor?
Aye.